she would rather you interrupt her speech with questions and or hang on to your questions until the end. But Jenny is here, Jenny Ward, whom I know a number of you already know Jenny because she's been with the Vocational Rehabilitation Group for, I don't know, 11 years?
11 plus.
11 plus years. And she is with the Independent Living track, which is the other track is the vocational track where you're looking for a job of some kind or training, education. But this is independent living where you can get services to help you adapt to living in your home. And so she's got a wealth of information to share and will tell us more about their programs. So welcome Jenny back.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? Yes. And if I get too loud, somebody just kind of give me the signal to tune it down just a little bit, okay? I like to walk around, so I guess I could stand up here at the podium and stand still, but I don't want to if I don't have to. So I do recognize many of you all, and I've worked with some of you all, so hello to my folks that I see, that I recognize. I'm Jenny Ward. I'm with the Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, Blind Services, Independent Living. So we're state, so we like to have a huge name, but most of the time we just refer to ourselves as Blind Services is what we do most of the time. My coworker is here with me. Her name is Ashley. She is located in the Somerset office, but she and I are kind of hanging out together, and so she wanted to come see the location and meet everyone that's here, because we are utilizing Bluegrass Council for the Blind quite a bit now. So anyway, she is here. If anybody is kind of from the south part of the state and has any referrals or anything, so we're glad to have her. Okay. My job as an independent living counselor is to work with people who have vision impairment, and most people are not totally blind that I work with. Most folks that I do work with have macular degeneration. That tends to be the most popular eye disease that I work with. However, we see others of glaucoma. RP we're seeing quite a few folks with RP now. As a matter of fact, I had a referral this morning that I was working with that has RP. And some people, they've had vision impairment all of their life, it's congenital, or they've acquired it as they've gotten older. But with our independent living services, our job is to work with folks to make them feel as independent as possible in their home environment. So we don't come in and tell you how you should be doing something or you shouldn't be doing something. We don't come in with the white glove and run it across your coffee table to see how dusty it is. We don't find out, what your diet is, and are you eating 10 hot dogs a day? Are you eating a salad? Are you having oatmeal? We don't really care what you eat. However, if you say, Jenny, I can't run my microwave, I can't work my stove, then that is my job, is to help you be able to do that independently. Our first step when you want to become a consumer of our office is that we ask for an eye report. So we get that from your eye doctor. Once we get that, we see what your eye condition is and make sure you qualify for our services. And most folks do. A lot of times by the time we get the referral, you have found out about us, so you already meet that qualification. But we do have to have an eye report. So we get that, and then we schedule a time to come see you. Now, here's some things that have changed since COVID. Used to be, it was, we come to your home. If it's independent living services, we have to come to your home. That's how we always operated. Now, since COVID has happened, and as we know, our world changed in many ways, we can do things virtually with folks or just over the phone. So if somebody just isn't comfortable about having somebody in their home, we can certainly do it over the phone. And we've really learned to adjust to that. When we all got sent home during COVID and was having to learn how to do an assessment with someone that has vision issues over the phone, we thought, this isn't going to work. What are we going to do? But ways to be able to work with folks. Now, most of my people that I am working with now, they don't mind you coming to their house. But certainly I don't just, somebody says, I really don't want you coming, then it's fine with me. And so we can have things shipped to them and just talk to them over the phone. So, go back to getting the I report, then we do the assessment with the individual, and it's very, very individualized. So what I do for one person doesn't mean somebody else gets the same exact thing. We don't go in with a check sheet saying everybody gets a talking watch, everybody gets a talking thermometer. We don't do that. It's based upon what that individual discusses with us of what their issues are that they're having difficulty with. Now, because a lot of my people that I see are older individuals, often their adult children have become involved too. So I get a lot of referrals from adult children, and actually I think most of us, we get quite a few referrals from adult children. Sometimes their agenda and their goals for their parent is different than what the parent wants. So we have to overcome that on occasion, but we gracefully can, and we can work through that. But sometimes it's very difficult for the adult child to see their 85-year-old mother, who used to fix meals for everybody on the weekends on a Sunday, and who used to just rip and roar and go wherever she wants to, doesn't want to go anymore, or she doesn't want to cook a meal for everyone. But that's not always vision related. Sometimes it's just she's tired. My mother's 87 years old, and I find that most of us children, we're the ones who's fixing the meal anyways. So aging itself has different facets to it, but when you throw the vision in on it, the individual may be relying on the adult child for reading their mail, taking them where they need to go. So it's finding that balance with that family. Susan and I were kind of talking about that just a little bit ago before I got started speaking about when someone has a vision impairment, it's often difficult for them to want to ask for help. They just don't want to. If it's somebody who's been extremely independent all of their life, they don't want somebody reading their mail. They don't want that. They don't want somebody seeing how much they spend at the store. It's even difficult for folks that they'll sometimes say, I need something from Kroger or from Walmart, when they used to be able to hop in their car and go to Kroger and Walmart by themselves, walk around and buy whatever it is that they want, and they go home and nobody even knows what they bought. They don't know how long they were at Walmart, or how much that they spent. So, when now they're having to be somewhat dependent on someone as they've aged, they tell their adult child, I need to go to Kroger. Oh, tell me, Mom, what you want, and I'll just pick it up for you. When they may want to go on their own and be able to shop. Now, sometimes I see the opposite of that too, to where the individual truly doesn't want to get out. They don't want to go when it's cold, or they're not feeling well, or they get very overwhelmed when they are out in large crowds. And so they do really appreciate if somebody can just pick something up for them, and that means a lot. But it's just finding that balance where, whether it's a neighbor, a friend, a family member, being respectful for what that individual asks of that person, or doesn't ask of them. So it's just, I always say communication's really, really important for people, to be very honest about how that makes them feel. If somebody is always jumping ahead of them saying, oh, I'll do that for you, oh, I'll do that for you, you just sit down, you don't have to do that, we can't get her to sit down. Well, she doesn't want to sit down, so, leave her alone. She can still do things on her own. It just may not be at the same speed or as much as she might used to be able to do. So no, she doesn't want to fix Sunday dinner for 10 children and grandchildren, and honestly, she doesn't even want them all in her house. So, don't be so hard on that individual. Let them be. I had a 95-year-old lady in Bourbon County, and she literally told her adult children who were in their 70s, I do not want a birthday party. I don't want a birthday party, period. And it kind of hurt their feelings, and she said, I just don't enjoy it. I can't see everyone. Kids are running around everywhere. You know, it's not what I want. And so her family was respectful, even though some of them kind of got their feelings hurt, but at the same time, that's what she chose. Now, there's some folks who do enjoy having, you know, I call it chaos, but all your family around you. You know, you just gotta go based on what it is that individual wants, particularly when it's in their home. It's their house. Coming in to clean house for someone who has a vision impairment, ask them, you know, would you like for me to do this? Not coming in and just assuming I'm gonna do all of their cleaning for them, because once that individual leaves, then they can't find anything, you know, because somebody wanted to help them and come clean their house, and that's not what they wanted. So, groceries is one of those other things that, I've had numerous people tell me that somebody will take them to the grocery store and come back and then wanna put their groceries up for them. No, don't touch my groceries. Don't touch my groceries. But some people will still let somebody put the groceries up because they don't wanna communicate to that person. They feel like they're hurt their feelings by telling them, no, please don't do that. And I just encourage folks that no, that helps them learn also that you need to put your soups, your vegetables, whatever it is, in a particular place. That's because you know where it belongs. Because after they leave, you know, you may not find your can of soup for a week, you know, that you'll find it in some other cabinet. Or open the wrong thing that you thought you were opening. You know, I heard somebody say one time they thought they were opening a can of corn and they opened a can of pineapples. And somebody said, well, what did you do with it? And I said, well, I ate it.
Well, yeah, instead of throwing it away.
So there's things like that as I'm going through the assessment. My job and Ashley's job and the rest of us counselors across the state, our job is not to come in and tell somebody what to do. However, we do have lots of ideas and suggestions based upon when we are in their home and we see their environment. We go through lighting with them. Depends on what kind of eye condition they have. You know, is their lighting good in their home? They have a lot of windows open. And that's something that I'll talk to people about their windows, the light that comes in. And I'll say, you know, if you would pull the blinds, that could possibly help you. There's glare coming from the outside that's coming in. So let's pull those blinds. And no, I don't want to pull my blinds. Well, when I leave there, I can't make them pull their blinds. But I do know that the outside light can be detrimental to their vision inside. But that's one of those things that we just might encourage an individual. Well, just try it. The next time you're trying to watch TV and you're having difficulty, pull your blinds and see if that helps. So it's things like that that we can talk to people about. Their kitchen, you know, is it marking their appliances for them, helping them find the 30-second button on their microwave because all they want to be able to do is heat their oatmeal up or last night's dinner up. The stove, you know, are they someone who, particularly if it's somebody who has lost their vision later in life, you know, were they even using the stove prior to their vision loss? If they weren't, I'm not going to encourage somebody, oh, let me mark your stove so that way we can make sure you can go back to cooking if that's truly not a desire that they have. It may be the dishwasher. Can we put a marking on the dishwasher that might be helpful so they can push the start button and, you know, just to be able to run the dishwasher. Washer and dryer, can they wash their clothes okay? If there's a husband and wife team, you know, I don't say who's washing the clothes and the wife says, well, I have to wash everything. And I don't say, well, why isn't he washing them? You know, what's today's time, you know, come on people, let's all split our responsibilities. I don't come in and do that either. You know, and I don't think Ashley does that either. Our job again is not to come in to reconstruct the family or the unit of people that are living there, but it's what that individual is struggling to do. Now, if it's someone who has recently lost vision, you know, and they were used to doing all their daily chores of, you know, they don't have a spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, or anybody else, children in the home. You know, sometimes that's a little bit of a different situation than someone that has macular degeneration. Maybe they've had their stove for 30 years, so they can work their stove without even having a bump dot on there, versus someone who, you know, has moved into a new apartment. We get that a lot. Lots of times people move and they have difficulty. So we work with people at where they're at and what it is that they're wanting to accomplish. So we'll, we'll ask them, how do you do with picking out your clothes? Most people say, I wear a pair of jeans and a top, so it doesn't really matter. Some people say I have my closet's all organized. We'll talk to them about, if they have difficulty matching things, about marking their pants, if they have navy pants, black pants, whatever it may be. Now there's so many new apps that are out there that so many people are using. The Seeing AI, have you all heard of that?
Yeah.
It's become, to me, it's one of my favorite apps. It's artificial intelligence, but you can hold it up to just about anything and it will read it or tell whatever it is that you're looking at. It had me off by a year age-wise, but it described me, and then gave me, being a year older, which I didn't appreciate, but it was close enough. So those are some things that are happening as far as that. I'm talking more to folks about using their phone. I've been noticing, I've had this conversation with quite a few people when I say, okay, tell me, how do you read the food label when you're getting something out of the freezer? Tell me how you do that. Oh, well, I can't see it. I can't see it at all. Or if I get it in the right light, I can see it. And, well, most of the time I have to go get my phone, And I said, well, you know what? It's really kind of a blessing to have that phone because, 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have those phones. And so sometimes it's about encouraging folks to take what we've got. No, nobody likes to run and go get their phone to have to look at something, but how great is it, especially phone users now, those of us, if you have a vision impairment, it truly is making a difference for many, many folks, and we all have our phones when we are out. It's kind of like our money or whatever, our license, our wallet, our credit cards, whatever. If you have your phone, you can just about survive without anything else, as long as we've all got our phones. So that is something I've been trying to encourage a lot of people, that it's not fun to have your phone to look at something, but how great is it to use that flashlight that's on your phone. The people that need a lot of direct light, you can use that flashlight. You can take a picture, you can enlarge it, you can use the magnification on it. So that is something probably the past, again, I hate to blame things on COVID, but since COVID, that people are more depending on their phone. And so I try to encourage them that is a tool. Keep that in your toolbox, that's what you use. Magnification, we work with people on magnifiers. Magnifiers don't work for everyone. And most of the time, by the time you get to the point that you need a magnifier, reading is difficult anyways. So our goal is to try to help you with magnification, pick out the important things that you're wanting to try to read. You're probably not going to be able to sit down and read a book with a magnifier. If you're recently diagnosed with macular degeneration or something like that, probably starting out with a 3x magnifier, 3.5, yeah, you could probably read a book fairly well. But once you start getting stronger than about a 4 or 5, that's just when reading is difficult. So I find when I'm working with people on magnification, we're looking at your medication bottles. We're looking at the corners of your envelopes from your mail. What is it that you're trying to pick out to be able to read from that? So I always consider it a success when I'm working with somebody on magnification and they can read their medication bottle. Now, are they reading the very fine print? No. I can't read that with my readers on. I don't know who they expect to read the fine print. But if they can make out what kind of medication it is and how many times a day they're supposed to take it, that's really, really helpful. And of course, if somebody can't read, even with magnification or medication bottles, then we'll talk about marking their bottles. What is it that you have difficulty finding. But I do find people who've been taking medication for a long time, they're pretty good at it. Most people know the size of their pill, the color of the pill, the size of the bottle, where they keep the bottle located
The size of the pill,
yeah. Some are really big. We talk about contrast. Are they putting the pill down on a flowered tablecloth? So if you've got a vision impairment and you take a pill and you put it on a flowered tablecloth, you can't find that pill. it's lost, it's gone, it just blends in with everything. So we may talk to that individual, up here to my right, Susan, up by the TV is this table to my right, the very top here, is a dark green color. So somebody with a
Or
vision
something
impairment, and you
black,
put like something
your
that's
pills
white or
in
cream
too.
colored pill on there, that they're gonna see that a lot better than they'll probably see in the very back where there's a yellow tablecloth and you put a cream pill or a yellow pill
That
down.
had food
It's
in
hard
it,
to see.
ended up put your pills in there.
Yeah,
Just
so
to
contrast
see.
is really, really important.
Excuse me, can I
Uh-huh.
ask a question?
Sure.
This is, 20 million people have vision problems. The pill bottles, I've asked if they have large print. No. Do you think there's a way to advocate, even if they just put down the name of the drug, how many centimeters, whatever the amount is, and the times per day that you take? How hard would that be for them to print just that? Do you think there's a way, or is it impossible to
So,
advocate for that?
yeah, well, and when you think about it, there's so many different companies, from Kroger to Walgreens to Meijer to, and everybody has their way of doing things. And yes, you can get a large print, but is it still big enough for an individual to be able to see? What I have told some folks that I have worked with, that no matter how large it gets, and even with magnification, it's still difficult, that maybe they can take a note card and have them write it on there for them, or put it in individual bags for them, maybe with some of the pharmacy places, they'll use a paper bag to put your medication in and not just a plastic bag.
Oh, okay.
But to be able to label it separately than your other medication instead of putting like 4 or 5 bottles in one bag. Yes.
Are you familiar with Script Talk?
There is Script Talk, yes.
That's perfect.
It's great, but not everybody can do that, but it is
Oh, it's
available.
audio. It
It's
talks to you.
audio.
There's nothing you have to do.
But not every place participates in that.
But they will, it's free. Script Talk will set it up anywhere for free. I've done it with 2 different pharmacies.
Well, it's great. Don't get me wrong, it is great. But I'm just telling you, not everything's everywhere, so.
Yeah.
No, she's talking about a device that you can get that you would set the pill bottle. They have to participate, the company has to participate, but it will talk to you and tell you what the medication is.
It's called Script Talk?
Script Talk.
And it's provided free by the
I
pharmacy.
believe Walmart is a big participant in that. I'm unsure about Kroger.
Some Kroger's is, some Kroger's aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, not everybody does it, so that's one of those things that I don't mind to promote it, but not everywhere does that. And keep in mind too, the services that we offer, we're all of Kentucky, okay? I'm from Eastern Kentucky, in case you all didn't notice that with my accent. We work with some very rural folks, very rural folks. So what one person here in Lexington does, or Louisville does, our person in Pikeville may not get the same thing, or in Clay County. So there's a lot of advantages we have, and I'm gonna assume most of you all are from here in this area, but many of you may have moved here. It's not perfect, and we all know that, okay? We know transportation is not perfect, we know that. But compared to a lot of other places, it's nice, it's nice.
Better than nothing.
And even with Louisville, there's some folks that they prefer to live in a bigger city. It all depends on the family. Sometimes more people have in the rural areas, maybe they have more family that can help them with things. But that's not always the case either. Yes.
Hi, Jenny. It's
Hello.
Sarah.
Yes,
Good
I
to see
recognize you.
again.
You too.
And he has Script Talk now, but in the beginning, I used rubber bands. A different feel of rubber bands, just around the bottle. And if you've got a family member that can help you do that, or when that replacement drug comes, put that same rubber band on that bottle.
You can take that bottle with you to the pharmacy and ask if they would go ahead and put that medication that you had. Pill boxes are not the be end of all, whatever that saying is. That doesn't solve people's problems as pill boxes. And that's one of those things that I'll get the question from adult children, particularly mom or dad needs a pill box. Why? Why do they need a pill box? Who's gonna fill that pill box for them? then as you age, just your fingers don't even work that well. Trying to get your fingers down in a pillbox, it's hard. It's very, very hard. But as Sarah was saying too about the rubber bands, you just get creative on how it is you want to identify something. So it may not be a rubber band around the bottle. It may be a bright red sticker on top of the bottle. It may be a black sticker on top of it. It may be that you take it out as soon as you get home from the store and you put it in a little Ziploc container with a little lid on it. I tell folks, get creative. And especially people that have lost their vision later in life, you've been so used to doing something for 50, 60 years, and then you've got to make that adjustment. And it's hard because you keep saying, but that's not how I've done it. That's not how we do it. That's not, I want to go back to how I used to be able to do it. And it's learning to think outside of the box and how can I be creative and do this that works for me, not how it looks to everybody else. So little containers are kind of what I encourage a lot of folks to. And you can get little Ziploc containers, and you can get the Meijer brand, the Walmart brand, the Kroger brand, whatever. They come in all kinds of different sizes, from a large square to a little tiny round shape, square shape. Use that to put stuff in to identify. But no cards or larger stickers like printing, like what you might put through a printer, where you can take it and just write it yourself really large with just like a black Sharpie marker, so you can identify the medication yourself. So we'd like to think there's an answer for everything, but there's not. Sometimes when people ask me questions, I don't have an answer to it, and we'll just kind of sit and go, well, how did you used to do it? What can you do now? What have you got in your home? What's in your toolbox to be able for us to figure this out that works for you? Did that kind of answer your question about sort of? I mean, it's an issue. I mean, it just doesn't always work the same for everybody. So it may be from your organization. That's something we can't tell people enough. But again, I can't come in and organize your home. But organization, if you have a vision impairment, is so important. If you have a lot of clutter, then that's kind of chaos in many ways. Especially if other people are living in your home and they move your clutter around, then you can't find your clutter, But so trying to keep things as organized as possible, whether it's shelving in your pantry, in your bathroom, your medication bottles, whatever it may be. And you really have to, I say advocate for yourself, but you really have to start out by saying, with whoever's with you, or if company comes to your house, please put whatever you find, please put it back where you found it. Because when you leave, I can't find it. But if you tend to be somebody who doesn't put things where if you always just set something down, well then you're gonna lose it. I lose it and I have good vision. You don't know how many times I lose my cell phone. My cell phone and my keys, I never can find it. And it's because I don't put them in the same spot. Now if I have a vision impairment, it's imperative that I put my keys or my cell phone in a certain spot. And we make it sound like it's easier said than done, but it is just truly just practice over and over. You just have to. Maybe it's putting your keys in a basket that hangs on the doorknob. Just organization is just key. So we'll talk with folks about that. We will do magnification, lighting. I tend to do quite a bit of lights, lamps is what it is. We don't come in and change your light bulbs out in your house or anything like that. But there are several of it, and some of us use different devices, so we don't have a set of devices that we use across the state, but we tend to use things that are similar. So we'll sign people up for talking books if that's something that they're interested in. Transportation, we will, we can't solve the transportation issue, but if it's something with helping them get signed up for that, we will do that. We've got a couple of specialized other programs in our agency too. One is orientation and mobility training. That's cane training. There's several folks here that use the long white cane with the red tip. Anybody can obtain a cane, okay? However, we highly, highly encourage that folks get properly trained on that. And how one person gets around versus how somebody else gets around can vary. So somebody may not need as much training as somebody else if they're not getting out very much. Or if they say, no, I only get out with somebody with me, versus we may have some independent travelers that get out and walk home or walk to work or whatever by themselves. So that can also vary too about how somebody uses a long white cane. I always tell people when we're introducing them to a long white cane, most people don't use them in their home. So any of you all that are cane users, you don't walk around in your home with your cane, you know your home really well. But if you're out in public, not only does it help you, know what's ahead of you as much as possible, it also helps you, other folks know to kind of stay out of your way. And some people are not ready for that. Some people are not ready for that. And that's something we don't make people do. We'll get referrals that'll say, they need cane training, they need that, they need that. Well, do they want that, you know? And we'll talk to them about it, that'll be fine, and let them know that it's available. But we can't make them, we're not the cane police, so we can't come and make sure that they're using their cane every time they step out the door. That's their choice to do that. We have a lot of, people on a wait list for cane training. We're trying to utilize some vendors, some contractors. So we're kind of trying to build that up a little bit, so that way hopefully people are getting cane training a little bit sooner rather than later, if that's something that they're interested in. So we're hoping that that's gonna get better. We've really only got 2 people in our state, that works for our offices that does cane training. We've got one in Louisville and one here in Lexington, and they basically cover the whole state. So that's kind of hard,
Well, 60, half of it 60 counties, the other half there's 60
Well,
counties. That's an
yeah.
awful lot of
That's-
counties.
We have 120 counties.
That's easier said than done.
Well, yeah.
So I cover central Kentucky, so it's basically Fayette County and all of the surrounding areas is who I cover. So I go to Madison, I cover Franklin County, I go up to Scott County, I go as far as Bath County. Ashley actually has more counties than me. Is it 17? How many do you have? 17, 18, or 19. Right now, we are in a hiring freeze. We're in a hiring freeze right now, so we had one of our counselors retire in the E-Town, Elizabethtown office, and they were unable to fill his position. So Ashley and some other counselors out of our Louisville office and Bowling Green office have been trying to cover his territory. So we're busy people, but I hate to use that as an excuse, you know, to folks that have been waiting. But I hate to be like with someone, you know, well, I've been working with other consumers when I know somebody's been waiting. But unfortunately, sometimes it is kind of a planning game. If I know I'm gonna be in Madison County, that I'll try to see as many people as I can see in Madison County instead of saying, oh, I'm going to Madison County in the morning and then I'm gonna go to Scott County in the afternoon. You know, I try to be as, useful with my time and our resources. You had a question.
Why is there a hiring freeze?
It's funding right now.
Is that typical annual funding?
So I'm not on that end to be able to speak on, I don't control our budget. So that would have to more come from an upper management. We do get state and federal funding, is what we get. And so, we're part of the Education Labor Cabinet, but our agency has chosen at this time to do we're doing a hiring freeze. So,
So I mean, you're not hiring anybody?
not hiring anybody.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I thought that meant.
yeah. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I was just wondering, after you do your initial visit and you do the setups for like the microwave and the stove, what sort of continuing services do you have after that?
Okay, that's a great question, So that varies from person to person, okay? It just depends. It depends on what more that individual needs. Lots of times we may have people that have other things going on. We have people that'll say, well, I'm gonna be out of town for a couple of months, or it may be something that we're ordering for them that doesn't come in, we're not able to get at that time. Not where it is an individualized program, I can't say everybody gets 3 visits from me. Everybody may get 1 visit, or some people may get 1 visit, some people may get 2 visits, some people may get 3 visits. Some people's case may be closed out in a couple of months, it might be 1.5 years to 2 years before their case is closed out. So it varies from person to person. So there's not, and where it's individualized, and we try our best to say that over and over to people. Again, it's not on a rotation, so it's not like I'm gonna say, I'm gonna come to your house every Friday at 10 o'clock. We don't do that.
How do you get a referral?
So anybody can make a referral. Anybody can make a referral. It does not have to come from a professional. It does not have to come from anybody. It can be yourself that calls and makes that. Okay? If you go on our website, there's a list, and it's very difficult to find. I'm gonna leave my business cards. We're very, we like to change phone numbers. Ashley has a 502 number in Somerset, which is a 606 area code, that when she calls, it says Louisville. So, do you think somebody in Southern Kentucky is really gonna pick up their phone when they first see Louisville's calling? 502 number. Everybody, oh, that's spammer. Who do I know in Louisville that's gonna be calling me?
They're Frankfurt as well.
Frankfurt, yeah. So, but it's still, but with her being there, it comes up as Louisville. So we don't always show up on people's caller ID. I will say, getting a hold of people is difficult, because so many people don't answer their phones like they used to, because everybody gets so many spam calls. And I will tell you all, we do not keep your number and your referral for years to keep trying to reach somebody. So we also feel like it's that individual's responsibility, especially if you called and made a referral on yourself. If you don't hear from us, you call us. But if we tried numerous times to reach somebody and we leave messages and we're unable, I don't know how many full mailboxes I get, I can't leave a message. So if I can't reach you, I can't reach you. And so that, we do find that is difficult. Some people get mad at us, well, nobody called me. Well, yeah, we have tried calling you, but we can't reach you. So I just say, call us back. Keep, squeaky wheel, don't give up. Yes, sir.
I got 2 comments. One comment, I had a cane with a broken strap on it, and Sam went ahead and put a new strap on my cane and stuff here. And the other comment was, I talked to the doctor about, about all my pills and stuff, about the different sizes. And I said, he said, well, all the pills used to be big enough for people to use, but people started griping about it, they were too big to swallow. So I said, yeah, the pills are getting so small now, you're going to need a magnifying glass to see them. And I have about 3 pills that's almost getting so small, you're going to need a magnifying glass to see them.
So a suggestion I might have for you is that you sit down at your table, or you stand at your kitchen countertop, you put down a black towel, like a hand towel or a dark blue towel, not a towel that's got stripes or flowers on it. And then that way, when you go to pour that pill out of its bottle, it's going to hit that towel. It's not going to bounce out of your hand, or it's not going to bounce into the floor off of the countertop. And that little bit of contrast, if you've got some vision, hopefully the contrast will help. But then you can also go to feel for it. But if it's on a countertop, it's going to be slick and it's going to slide off. It's going to bounce off. So using a towel can be very, very helpful.
Well,
like a mixing bowl.
I got one of these banquet meal things, and it was this plain square thing, and after I ate the meal, I cleaned it out, and I used that to pour my pills in, to put in my pill bottles. But I'm just saying, the pills are getting so tiny, you could almost, you're gonna almost have to have a magnifying glass just to see them boom in your pill bottle.
So here's something else I encourage folks to do too. Know how many pills you're taking. So in the evening, you know if you're taking 3 pills, are you taking 5 pills, are you taking 2 pills? Know how many pills that you take each time you have a pill session, okay? And so then that way, the little tiny ones, if I have somebody that puts 4 or 5 pills in their hand, and then they take their hand up to their mouth, do you know how many pills can drop out of their hand into the floor and they don't know it? So therefore, they've got a mouthful of pills, and they don't know if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 or 3, you know, other than there's pills in their mouth. So I say if you take 1 pill at a time, you know you have 5 pills to take, you take 1 pill at a time, then you know each one goes into your mouth. So that's one of those things, does it take longer? Yes, it does. But again, the older you get, the harder, and a lot of people with diabetes and stuff, they lose the feeling in their hands and their fingertips anyways. But if you're able to count, okay, that was pill 1, I know it's on my tongue, I can feel it on my tongue. Get your glass of water, take a drink, take pill 2. You know, you stand there and take your pills until you make sure you got them all. I've been in numerous homes before, especially folks who live alone. There's pills under their table, there's pills by their couch, and I'll say, you know, you've got quite a few pills laying here. Oh yeah, I dropped them, but I couldn't find them. Well, you know, sitting and taking them in your living room, especially if you've got carpet, they're gonna go down the carpet and then you don't even know it. So they don't even know what pills they've missed. And so that sometimes we have to kind of, I'm trying to keep up with my time here too. Something else we have to be aware of in the job that we do is we promote independence, okay? That's why we're called an independent living counselor. However, we sometimes, we run into folks that maybe have the early stages of dementia or some other forgetful memory issues that are going on. We can't work with somebody that we visibly see and can tell that they have some memory issues. I was with a lady in one of my counties that she was still living alone, but the family had put cameras up in her house, and it was really time for her to probably be with somebody at that point, but they were still trying to keep her at home as much as possible. And we all know those situations, and it's sad because we do want to try to do things the longest that we can in our home. And literally, I had worked with her on her microwave. She was having great difficulty with being able to retain what I had done on her microwave, what I had marked. The daughter and I was kind of finished with her, so the daughter and I were standing on the front porch, and all of a sudden I hear this smoke detector, and I said, "Is that an alarm going off?" And the daughter said, "Well, it is." She opens the front door. The mother had somehow started frying bacon and didn't even realize she was doing that, and it was starting to burn on the stove. So, you know, as much as we want to promote independence, sometimes we also have to look at the situation that the person's in. So just because they have a vision impairment doesn't mean that we will try our best, but that doesn't mean they're always someone that we can work with. So they have to be able to retain skills too. So if I'm working with somebody and they don't even know the pills' names, they don't know what it's for, they don't know anything, then if there's a family member, then I would encourage that family member, they need to assist that individual with taking their medication. I'm not going to walk out there going, "Boy, I taught that person how to use their medication," knowing that they may take the whole bottle after I leave here. You know, I can't do that and feel good about that and call it a successful case. So sometimes we do close cases as unsuccessful. We just have to.
Also,
was here for William Hart.
Yeah. Also, pills out there that you can't take at the same time.
Yep. Some people, they have to take certain pills early in the morning and wait 30 minutes and then take it later. They can't take it at bedtime. They have to do it at certain times. So some people I may encourage, leave your morning pills in by the coffee pot, put your nighttime pills by the bedside. Come up with a system that works well for you.
Right.
Do you have anything to add, Ashley, that we've not talked about? Ashley's been doing this for about 4 years now, so she does a great job too, by the way.
I guess just nursing home and assisted living too.
Yes, so we can go to nursing homes and assisted living. We can do that. If we prioritize folks that we're working with, we will get to somebody that's living particularly alone first, is how we would rate that, versus somebody who's in assisted living that's getting their daily needs met. But we can see people in nursing homes and assisted living. But most of the time in a nursing home, it might be maybe a magnifier, signing them up for talking books, or a large print calendar or something like that. And whatever we do provide an individual is free. So if we give you something, it's yours to keep. What we don't do is keep replacing. So if you call me all the time and say, I dropped my magnifier and broke it, can you send me another one? I'm really not supposed to. So, any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Jenny. I'm Janice Woods. I don't know if you remember or not. It's been some years. But I have a friend that needs our counseling services. What is the beginning of the procedure? Do you have to sign up for to get Medicaid or get a medical waiver and then get a counselor, or do you just strictly come first to the DVR?
So we don't do any type of Medicaid, Medicare insurance. We don't need any type of copy of anything like that because our services are free. So it would simply just be a phone call for somebody calling and making a referral to that person's, their name, and then we need a phone number. We gotta have a phone number. We get some referrals, we don't get a phone number, so we gotta have a phone number. And if you call, say, my office or Ashley's office, and it's for somebody in a different part of the state, we'll make sure that that gets to the person,
Okay,
the
but
correct counselor.
DVR is the first step. First step in obtaining a cane and training for the cane.
You have to be able to get cane training, professional cane training. You have to be what we call a consumer, so that's somebody who works with our office. So you either have to have a VR counselor, so that means if you have a VR counselor, you're working with someone for employment, or you can just go straight to IL. If you're not working or not wanting to work, then that would be the independent living program. But you have to be working with our office.
Hello?
To be able to get that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Can we go ahead and get your cards?
Yes,
please?
We will be
yes.
picking you up in approximately between 11 and 16 minutes. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
If anybody wants a card, if you want to just raise your hand and I'll come around and get
11
one.
to 16 minutes. Okay, that is 208.
Yeah, but sometimes he keeps us on my desk.
I am finished, you all, unless anybody has any questions, and I'll be around for a few minutes if anybody wants to see me. Yes, if anybody wants to see me or talk to me, and actually, I will talk to you.
Hey, Jenny, I'll take a card.
Yes, I'm gonna turn this off somehow.
This is Susan. I just want to say something about what Jenny talked about as far as communication goes, because that is so important between a person with low vision or blindness and the people who are helping them. And we have a series of workshops coming up starting in May, on May the 7th. And all of you all would be welcome to come to those. Bring a sighted companion, a family member, or tell your assistants if they would like to come with you, or come by yourself. So it's welcome. It's for people who with low vision, blindness, and they're sighted, and people who are sighted as well, because it's going to be about communicating. And our first session in May will be teaching human guide technique, which will be along the lines of what kind of help do you need when you are, traveling or walking into a building, finding a chair, things like that. And it'll be fun and engaging. It's an hour and a half long, so it's like from 1:30 to 3 on that Wednesday, which is the first Wednesday of May, May 7th, our first meeting. After that, they will be quarterly. So I wanted to be sure, and you can sign up today if you like, catch me, and or call me, and your participation is welcome. We need you, visually impaired people, blind people.
we need you to help explain what some of your needs are so that the sighted folks can get the hang of it. And we need sighted people to kind of explain what they perceive when they walk into a situation with a blind person and don't know what to do or how to help. So we're looking forward to it. I just want to make sure that I got that going, like Jenny said, communication. So let's give Jenny a hand. Our second is great today. She really learned a lot, and she explains so much of what we all, I think she understands what we go through a lot.
Can I say one more quick
Yes.
thing? And I promise I'll make it quick. One of the things that we've been doing now for the past couple of years, and with Ashley coming with me today, I wanted her just to see where Bluegrass Council is located, even though her folks aren't in this area. But we have been partnering with you all. Bluegrass Council of the Blind is actually a vendor of ours. So we send folks for assistive technology training. So that's something that's been great for us because our assistive technology people have been pulled to do a lot of other things. And so I know especially for independent living, I work with Richard, send him referrals, and we will approve 5, 10, 15, it just depends on the person and how well they're doing with learning how to use technology, but that can be helping people with their iPhone, their Android, iPads, whatever it may be. So we are very grateful for your all's partnership on that.
We're very grateful for you, some people
Oh,
over
well, you're welcome. And I always say, and I've got more people to send. It just takes me a while, people, I'm sorry. Yes,
Thank
Teresa,
you.
she's got her hand up.
Thank you, Ashley, for coming too.
Thank you.
We appreciate the guest. Teresa?
I have a quick question.
Ready?
And I'm sorry, I had to step out and take a call, maybe you covered this, but, is the closing of categories affecting independent living? If so,
So I
how
knew
much?
that would be a question.
Thought about that.
And you had to wait till the very end to ask me when I'm done. So, at this time, no. IL is operating just like we've always operated, okay? Now, what does the future hold? We don't know that. And I mentioned a little earlier, I do none of the financial, I have no say-so whatsoever. I have no connections anywhere. But as of now, independent living is not, we've been told to operate as usual. So that's what we're doing. And if anything, it's not a benefit, so I'm not meaning it this way. But it's being looked at that maybe folks who are potential VR consumers, they will still take the referral. So they will take a person's referral. But could that be an individual that, no, we're not gonna be able to help you right now, whether it's job hunting or maintaining the employment, but is independent living a need that you need, that they'll go ahead and refer them to independent living. And in independent living, we can then utilize orientation mobility specialists. So other than that component of employment, which is very important to many folks, maybe we will be able to go ahead and cover everything else for folks until that portion opens back up.
So people that might need to learn to use a computer or a smartphone for independent living.
For independent living, and I'm gonna make that very clear, it's for independent living, I can't pay for employment stuff.
Right.
So if I get a referral, make sure it's for independent living than it is for job work and things like that. So yes, if, and I try my best, if somebody, cause technology's not necessarily IELTS, I don't wanna say focus, but that's not something that we're necessarily trained in doing. And so we've been getting some training on it, but it's, like I said, it's just been a blessing that we've had you all, that I have you all. The rest of the state doesn't necessarily, but we know we can send people, but they've gotta be able to get here, they've gotta be, and so for this central part of Kentucky, it's truly been great.
Technology has come so far for independent living though.
It has. It's the apps. I was talking a little bit about the Seeing AI app, and I mentioned earlier too, just the phone itself, how great that has become. And I was telling Now, people can use that as their toolbox. That's in their toolbox. That is a
Shopping.
tool that you can use.
Shopping, that, I mean, that, for independent living, it's a game changer for me, to be able to do my shopping on my phone and have things delivered to my home. I don't have to wait for someone to take me to the store and help me find things, and I can do all of that on my phone now, and take care of my whole family and household by using a smart device.
Exactly, and on that, that's such a positive point, and that's such a relevant point. But I was mentioning earlier, you know, we cover all of Kentucky, and so there's rural Kentucky, and let's keep that in mind. Not everybody has a smartphone. Not everybody's got that. Not everybody has the resources to be able to have that, and so how some folks operate here in central Kentucky may be different than how they operate. I'm gonna throw Floyd County, there's a gentleman here from Floyd County, you know, in parts of rural Kentucky. So, and that can be western Kentucky too. So we also, you know, we'll get people, family members, I keep bringing up adult children, but they'll want their 95-year-old mother to get a new smartphone. And we're like, does she want it? Well, no, but we'll teach her how to use it, or you can, if she wants it, but that's not the end all for you know, for her, because it often, I find with a lot of my consumers, especially my older folks, that, oh, look at this picture, look at this picture, look at this picture, and they can't see it. And so sometimes people find it to be stressful to have to learn to do that. Or we tried texting mom and she won't respond, and she deletes her stuff, and she didn't even want the smartphone to begin with. And so sometimes it's something as simple as, if mom was using a landline phone and she was able to call everybody she wanted to call, don't force her to begin using a smartphone because you want to text her something that it's difficult. So we kind of got to meet people where they're at and what they want on that. So as wonderful and great as technology is, sometimes it's just the simple pick up the phone, our landline phone, and use it. So that's, and we even have to be cautious about that in our wants and desires for some of our consumers. You know, we'll work with folks that we know they've got potential to, they can do this, but they've got to want to do it. We can't make them.
Well, and then you've got the affordability of
You've got the whole, exactly.
Because a lot of seniors
can't do that, yeah. Yeah.
Just
And
like you said at the beginning of your thing, it's case by case, every
is
person
so
is individualized.
It
programs
is,
and plans.
And I will tell you this too, I find this, and probably Ashley does too. I get calls from people from out of state, and so they've not seen a loved one for 6 months to a year. And some people are, when they see someone with a vision impairment, they can't wrap their head around how they can't do that by themselves. And so sometimes it almost bothers them worse than it does the individual who's going through that. And that's when they have their wants and desires, like technology, for somebody that they don't want that, they don't need that. So, thank you all. I talked way longer than what I said I was going to, which I can do. Yes, sir.